In this video, I'm going to teach you how to do the 7 kinds of shading. Of all of the foundational concepts in drawing, shading could be the most important. And the reason is, shading takes your line drawings from 2 dimensions up to 3 dimensions. For those of you that have my book already, The New Artist's Guide to Drawing, you can follow along on pages 26 through 30. Let's get to it. Just so we don't have to worry about proportions or anything like that, I've taken a photocopy of a Michelangelo painting. This is Adam from the Sistine Chapel. And I'll be using this to show you all of the different ways we can shade. This first type of shading is called hatching. You could also call it simple hatching. The idea is that all of the lines are in the same direction. I'm using all vertical lines here, but you could go all horizontal lines or all diagonal lines. It doesn't matter as long as they're all in the same direction. You create shading by changing the way you hatch slightly. So the parts of your image that are darker, you're going to have those lines closer together. And the opposite is true too. The parts of your image that are very light, those lines will be farther apart. You can play around with this too and change up other things. Like the darker areas, you might press down harder, but you don't have to. Also, you can play with the length of the lines. You can have some of the lighter areas be longer lines and the darker areas be shorter lines. That's up to you. There are lots of different ways to do simple hatching. Just keep working around your image until you're satisfied that the whole thing is covered with vertical lines. Now that you have an understanding of simple hatching, let's move to the second kind of shading, cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is the second kind of shading, and it's just like simple hatching with one big difference. We do simple hatching in one direction, and then we also do it in the perpendicular direction. So in this case, I'm doing simple hatching with vertical lines, and then again with horizontal lines. And just like with simple hatching, the parts of the image that I want to shade more are going to be hatched more tightly together. That can mean shorter lines, but it often means more tightly hatched lines, so they're closer together, in other words. Just keep working through the whole image until you're satisfied that all of the areas have been hatched. By the way, this kind of hatching is really great for you to develop your hand-eye coordination, because you're going to be drawing a lot of parallel lines. Now with cross-hatching explained, let's move to the third kind of shading, contour hatching. Contour hatching is the hardest and most complicated kind of hatching, because you have to worry about more than what's just light and dark. You also have to worry about the roundness of the form. With contour hatching, you have to imagine the object and how round it is, and then you're going to draw a line that follows the form of the object. Have those lines roughly parallel, but still following the contour of the object. I definitely recommend getting comfortable with simple hatching and cross hatching before moving to contour hatching. But like contour hatching, you're going to have tighter hatches in the darker areas and looser hatches in the light areas. And like the other kinds of hatching, your hatches can be long lines or short lines. Now let's move on to the fourth kind of shading. Thank you so much for making it this far through the video. I know you have a lot of choices out there on YouTube, so I do thank you for choosing my channel. If you're not already subscribed, why not consider subscribing today? This fourth kind of shading is probably my favorite. It's called scribbling. You're just going to lightly move your hand around the drawing. Do swirls and dips and turns and really just scribble. The parts of your drawing that are darker will receive more scribbling than the parts that are lighter. Keep going over lots of areas you've already drawn until the whole thing is developed. It might help to squint your eyes while you're doing this too. Now that we've seen my favorite kind, let's move on to my most hated, stippling. The next kind of shading is called stippling. And as you know, I'm no fan of stippling. It's just a series of dots. The number of dots corresponds to how dark that part of the drawing is. So if you want an area that's really dark, you put a lot more dots. If you want a light area, you put fewer dots. And you just keep making dots for minutes and minutes and minutes. Your wrist will get sore and it's not worth it. But if you like stippling, I'll just recommend keeping your pencil sharp and just keep working around your subject. Go back to areas you've already been to. And I think I'll just leave it here. My wrist was telling me to stop. Let's move on to the next kind of shading. Okay, this kind of shading is one that you guys probably think of when you think of shading. It's called blending. With blending, you go over your drawing again and again with very light passes. You try to hide your line work so you can't really see individual lines. You just keep coloring it in very, very lightly and building up the shading. You can press down harder for darker areas, or you can just build them up slowly, but I prefer to build them up slowly. It gives you more control. For blending, you can use the tip of your pencil for ultimate control, or you can use the side of your pencil to cover more ground. Blending is a great way to develop your touch, and that is to say how hard you press on your pencil. Just very lightly cover the whole face. And after you finish blending, you can talk about the next kind of shading, which is called smudging. Now that you have a drawing that you very lightly colored in, you can grab some blending stumps. They look like this, it's just rolled paper, or you can grab a Q-tip. This is the last kind of shading. It's called smudging. You smudge together all of the pencil that's already on the paper. This will get rid of any line work and create these seamless edges. This will give you your most realistic look. If you make a mistake, it's okay, you can just erase it. To do this effectively, I'd recommend using an HB, that's a number 2 pencil, or something softer. So you've just seen the 7 kinds of shading. I know you're going to have a personal favorite and one that you'd rather avoid, just like we all do. Happy drawing, and I'll see you in the next one.